Okay, so hi, my name is Sarah Paston, and I am a e-learning technical officer in the Department of Technology and Enhanced Learning. And me and my two colleagues, Dara Coakley and Marion Murphy, are covering this session today, which is called TL Tool Showcase. And what we're going to do today is showcase three tools, which are Vevox, H5P, and ScreenPal. And instead of really going deep into how you can set up these tools or use these tools, this session is more promoting why you might want to use these tools. And then what we'll do is we'll send you a link to a Canvas course that we put together recently that shows you in more detail how to actually set up and use these tools. So we've got Vevox, H5P, and ScreenPal, as I said. So we'll send you this enrollment link and then you'll be able to enroll on the module, which looks like this. And I'll just quickly show you what it looks like, but Dara's going to show you a bit more detail. You'll go in, you'll click in, and there's a section on Vevox, H5P, and then down on the bottom, we've got ScreenPal as well. And that'll show you how to do everything you need to do really with those tools. So I'll be covering Vevox first, and then my colleague Marion will cover H5P, and then finally Dara will cover ScreenPal. So I'm just going to get into Vevox now. So 1 second, and I will start my presentation. There we go. So as I said, I'll be covering Vevox and promoting how you could use Vevox in your role in MTU. So the first thing to say is, what is Vevox? So Vevox is an audience response tool. And basically that means that if you have any kind of audience, it could be students, it could be other colleagues, or it could be an event that you're running, and you want to poll them or quiz them or really just up your interactions with them, you can use Vevox. And you can see in this picture, they're doing a word cloud to get people to interact in the class or whatever kind of session that they're doing. I'll go over some of the features of Vevox. So Vevox allows for live polling. So you could ask people a question and get them to vote on answers, and then you can show what answers are the most popular. So you can gauge interest in certain topics, or, see how people's opinions on different things, which is really good for events. You can also do live quizzing. So that's where it's the same as the polling, but you can set correct answers. And that means that when people get the correct answer, you know, they can have a competition. So you could have it in your class where people are trying to, go up against each other, or you could even just use it as a regular quiz to gauge how many people in your class know a certain topic. Q&As, this is one that's really good for events. So you could have a Q&A turned on your Vevox session. Then people can submit questions. You can have it so that they're moderated as well. So if you're worried that they might ask something inappropriate, that won't appear on the Vevox screen. If you have it in moderation, you'll have to vet it first and then allow it to appear on the screen. And then you can click in, like you can see in this GIF, and show the question, and then answer that question live, and then move on to the next question. People can also upvote questions as well. So if you can prioritize basically the more popular questions if a lot of questions are coming in. Real-time audience feedback is a big feature of Vevox. So you can just see here in this GIF, they've asked, using an emoji, how do you feel about your upcoming class exam? And as people answer that, the word cloud updates. So it's updating in real time, and then it changes and changes as the answers come in. Vevox supports in-person, hybrid, and online sessions. So if you're in person, you could have the Vevox display up on a screen in a room, and then people can join either by going to vevox.app and typing in an ID, or if they can scan the QR code as well, they can do that. And then they can join the session and answer polls or quizzes on their phone, or maybe they can do it if they have a laptop, they can do that in the room as well. Then it works for hybrid as well, where you could be doing that, but also sharing over Zoom or Teams or whatever you're using, and people could then join similarly by using the QR code, or you can also send them a direct link. So that's handy if you're doing an online session. And then finally, one thing with Vevox is you can also do surveys or quizzes that people do in their own time. So that's where it's not a live thing and you're sending it to people. This is where you might do it over Canvas as well, is that you can send questions to people and it doesn't have to be live. You don't have to control it live. People can answer the questions in their own time. You can also evaluate the polling and survey data after the Vevox session is over. It has a lot of information on that. So it's got some good graphics that you can use and download to show like how many people participated and the participation rate. You can also download an Excel sheet with much more granular information. So as I said, you can use Vevox online or you can use it in person. And I'm going to give some more in-depth example use cases now. So you can make live lectures more interactive. You can see in that screenshot, it's a picture of the human body and it says locate the lumbar vertebrae. So that's like a quiz. You could also start and end sessions with live polls. So maybe you want sort of an icebreaker activity, or even just to gauge people's interest in a topic, or even what they want you to cover, or something like that. They said gauge an understanding on a topic. You can have live knowledge checks and quizzing. So if you wanted to, do a quick quiz in the middle of a class, you can do that very easily using Vevox, and you can do that online or in a live classroom. Keep students engaged because they're doing something interactive. So maybe if you have like a long lecture, like a 2-hour lecture, it kind of breaks it up a bit if you switch to Vevox maybe halfway through or a couple of times during the session. There's also the Q&A, which can be anonymous. So you might say in a class, oh, you can put up your hands if you have any questions, but maybe people don't have the confidence to do that because for whatever reason. So if you have an anonymous Q&A, people can ask questions without having to worry that their name will be against it, basically. So they can ask anonymously, and they might be a little bit more comfortable to ask questions that way. Another thing you can use Vevox for is boosting participation in training and workshops. So not necessarily for just NTU students. You could use it in training workshops that you're doing. You can break up long sessions that way. If you notice in the picture example I have here, there's like a icebreaker kind of question, and it's a pin on image type question. So it's where are you joining from today? And there's a picture of the world and people can click where in the world they are. You could do it if you know everybody on the meetings in Ireland, you could upload a picture of just Ireland, or there's loads of different kind of questions that you could ask. And one thing you'll notice as well when you go through Vevox is they have some suggested template questions that you can use for this kind of thing as well. You can collect questions from participants. So as I said, using the Q&A feature, you're in a workshop and you want people to be able to ask questions, you can collect them using that. You can also have a survey that you send out after the session as well. So that's the asynchronous on-demand feature that Vevox has. And then the biggest thing really with Vevox is the real-time feedback it has. And this is just a picture of a word cloud, which is one of the question types it has. You can use it in webinars, meetings, or town halls. It doesn't just have to be with students, as I said. It makes participants' voices heard so they don't feel like it's this passive experience. They're really a part of the experience. You're getting live feedback. People can ask anonymous questions, as I said. And word clouds are quite good, visual thing to look at just to, so this one is how are you feeling today? And you can all see if somebody answers the same as someone else, the word gets bigger as well. So it's kind of a good visual thing to look at. And as I said, sharing results in real time. So using Vevox is quite straightforward. You can use Vevox from the Vevox site, which you'll get a link to when you join the module that I'll share a link to. You can easily create polls and quizzes. And as I said, you'll get all the instructions on how to do that on the module. You can easily manage Q&A and live feedback. So in this, you're just clicking into a Q&A question, and then you can, once you've answered that question, you can just exit out of it and go to the next one. You can view session data as well. So you can download it and download it as an Excel spreadsheet if you need to. And to invite participants, this is just what it looks like when a participant is joining. They can just go to the website vevox.app, and there'll be a unique session ID, and they can type that in. But also they can scan a QR code from the session if they're able. If you're in a large room, maybe they won't be able to reach it to be able to scan that. So instead, they would do vevox.app and type it in. But there's multiple ways. So that, as I said, there's the QR code, there's vevox.app with that session ID, or also you can send them a direct link, and that's good for online sessions. And that is it from me. So I'm going to stop my share and then pass you on to my colleague, Marion.
Thanks, Sarah. Hi, everyone. Can you see that all right, Sarah?
Yep, that's showing.
Perfect. Thanks a million. Hi, everyone. My name is Marion Murphy, and I'm an e-learning technical officer with the Department of Technology Enhanced Learning here at MTU, and I'm looking after the H5P product. So, just to give you a quick overview of what I'm going to cover, what is H5P, some of the use cases around using it, what the benefits are for learners and for lecturers. I'm going to talk about the different classifications of H5P content types. I'm going to show you how to access H5P on Canvas. I'm going to talk then about some of the different layout content types and activity content types, and then I'll just point you to some supports that are available as well. So first of all, what is H5P? So essentially H5P is an authoring tool that's used within the Canvas dashboard, and it's used to create interactive content and learning activities for students. And it's now widely used in a lot of educational settings to enhance learning. The content is responsive and mobile friendly, and there's a consistent experience across multiple devices. So looking then at some of the use cases around using H5P, you can create interactive module content. So some examples include, say, H5P presentations and H5P interactive videos, where you can add interactions while the student is actually working through the module content. So it just makes it more engaging and more, I suppose, easier to understand complex concepts from the learner point of view. It can be used for blended learning, so you can have some interactive exercises on your module content on Canvas, which can reinforce your face-to-face instruction. It can be used for online learning programs, so it can help keep the learner engaged by using the interactive module content between online lectures. You can create formative assessments, so you can have assessments within the module content itself that helps the learner get immediate feedback, and they can more quickly identify areas of improvement. And it's accessible, so you can create accessible learning materials for learners with different needs and preferences. So what are the benefits for learners? So I suppose ultimately engagement is the big one in that. Having that interactive element on your module content makes it more engaging and more enjoyable for the learner. Um, the learner can engage in active learning in that there's a greater understanding of the material as they're working through it. If they engage in some of the activities, then they will understand their mistakes and learn in real time. H5P is compatible then with most screen readers and major assistive technologies. It's responsive. It's responsive, as I mentioned, across multiple devices. And I suppose another key part is that the learner doesn't have to move away from the module content to engage in the various different interactive activities. And then what are the benefits for the lecturer? So I suppose in relation to kind of more complex concepts, the content can be broken down into more manageable chunks, using the different layout content types that are available with H5P, and I'll talk through some of them there in a second. There would be enhanced student engagement throughout the by using the interactive elements. As H5P is responsive and accessible, all students can interact with it. There's over 40 something different content types now available, so it helps to cater for different learning preferences. It can be it's managed within Canvas as well, so again that's a great benefit in that you don't have to be going to an external platform to create these learning activities, and I'll show you that in a second. And there's also detailed reporting features with H5P as well. So what are the different H5P content types? So first of all, the layout content type is, as it suggests, it helps you to organize and present information in an interactive way. Some examples include dialogue cards, course presentations where you can add interactions. You have an accordion where you can create a vertically stacked expandable items, which can be useful for, if you've got 5 different elements of a framework or something like that. It can be just an easy way to make that type of content more interactive, where the student can just click on each of them individually and they're not overwhelmed with all the content in one go. You've got the image hotspot as well, where you can have interactive hotspots on an image, so when the student clicks on the hotspot, then more information is revealed about the particular text or content there. You also have the activity content types. So these are interactive elements that and activities that the learner can take part in. So on the interactive video option, you can have a video which is enriched with various interactions. Could be multiple choice, true or false. You can add extra text. There's loads of different options you can add to a video, either your own existing video you've recorded or a YouTube video that you can embed into Canvas. You've got the drag and drop option, where the learner has to drag either text or images into a box to match up with another corresponding aspect. You could have the game map, where you can arrange stages on a background image, and you have a question set, which is an option where you can add multiple different types of questions within one specific question set, which is also a useful one. So then just navigating to H5P on Canvas. So firstly, if you are creating a brand new page on Canvas, you do that as normal, and then you will see your rich content editor come up here, and then you can see here the H5P icon is here. So once you select that, you're then brought into this menu pops up, the H5P menu, and you just select add content there, and then you are brought into a kind of a search bar where you can actually search for the content type that you want to pull up, and as I mentioned, there's over 40 different content types, so you can decide what you want to add there. So I just put in multiple choice comes up there straight away. So you select details there, and then select use, and then you're brought into the H5P content editor, and there'll be more details available on that, on how to actually create different content types within Canvas. We have a whole library of instruction documents on that, but I just kind of want to show you where the starting point is. If you have existing module content and you're kind of thinking, oh, I want to, try out this H5P stuff, you can just go to an existing page and edit the page, and you go to on the page, then you place your icon, or you place your cursor, where you want to add the H5P content, and then just select the H5P icon, and then it's this exact same steps as I showed you with the adding it to a new page. So I suppose I'd encourage you to even try out one of the different H5P content types if you've never tried it before. The accordion is an easy one to start off with. Also multiple choice. There's some of them are quite easy to set up. And I suppose it helps to build confidence in using it then for other content types as well. So just to talk a little bit and give you show an example of a few of the different content types. We have dialogue cards, which are cards with corresponding words or expressions. They help learners memorize maybe words or definitions or frameworks. You can have a hint on one side, and then when the learner turns the card, the corresponding expression or element or definition is revealed. It can be they can be used for lots of different, I suppose, topics, including maths problems. They help learners remember facts, historical events, or formula or names. This is an example of a dialogue card for testing out common business frameworks. So there's a hint given on the front of the card, and then the learner turns the card to reveal the actual framework there. And the course presentation, then you can create a presentation on H5P and add interactions then on the different slides. So learners can monitor their progress at shorter intervals, and I suppose it chunks down the information for them. You can the interactions can be added in different ways, either text, audio, or imagery on the presentation. Some examples of interactions that you can add are true or false or drag and drop. In this example, then you can see along the bottom it says 4 out of 6. So we're on slide 4 out of 6 here, and this is just a multiple choice question that's been added on the slide there. So the students can select that and then move on to the next slide. Then the interactive video is, as I mentioned, you can either import your own video that you've created already, or you can use a YouTube video, and you can actually add the interactions to the video to make it more engaging. So you can have knowledge checks, or you can have pop-up text with further information. You can set up the interaction so that the video is paused, so kind of making the learner look at the actual what that interaction is that you want them to look at. You can also have the option where the interaction appears as a button and the user can choose or not to reveal the resource. So in this example, this is a YouTube video. Along the bottom there, you can see the little white dots. This shows that there is an interaction created on the video. So video to the first interaction, and then this fill in the blanks question pops up. So it means the learner is kind of gauging how their learning is going as they're moving along. Finally, then just the drag and drop option. It allows users to associate two or more elements and to make logical connections. So the drag and drop questions can be created either using text or images as draggable alternatives, and they can be used as a standalone learning activity, or they can also be used within course presentations, interactive videos, or question sets as well. So this in this example, just a very simple example of a blank map of the world, and the learner has to drag the content over to the correct area there. Just some supports then available, which I'll share there. We have a library, as I mentioned, of instruction docs, which goes through in detail then how to set up the H5P content types. And we have our tech showcase module, which we'll share with you there shortly. And if you have any questions on or any queries on H5P, you can email us at edtech@mtu.ie. And that's me. Thanks very much. And I'll hand over to Dara, my colleague. Thanks, Dara.
Thanks very much, Marion and Sarah as well. Yeah, so hello everyone. So look, I'll try and keep this pretty brief, just so everyone can kind of finish up on time. So the final section that we'll be talking about is ScreenPal. So ScreenPal is basically screen recording software, and the idea with ScreenPal is very simply that it is a way of being able to record whatever is on your computer screen, but also allowing you to turn on your webcam and use your microphone as well. So essentially, you're able to uh, have particular content up on screen, but also being able to talk over it essentially. So some of the advantages of screencasts, which is what ScreenPal produces. So screencasting or screen recording is sometimes called. It's relatively easy to do. It doesn't usually require large downloads and installation, and that's very true of ScreenPal, which is the software solution the Tel department provides. It can really be done anywhere from any machine, so it's not like you need special equipment. If you have a decent microphone, that's about as much as you'll ever really need. It can be very flexible, what you can use it for, and it's very, very good essentially for showing a process very clearly from beginning to end. So if you're trying to, for example, figure out how to do something in Excel or in Word or in any piece of software, and you hop onto YouTube, generally what you're going to see is a lot of screencasts demonstrating click here, move this here, go over here, select this, and that's it. And it can also support accessibility for students because what you do with a screencast is you have on screen visuals, you have kind of, whatever you're looking at on your own computer, but you're also able to talk over it, which introduces an audio element. You're able to add captions to your screen recordings. Um, if you want to using H5P, you can make them interactive. So all of this is really good for helping provide, I suppose, the information to students in a range of different kind of formats. So any students who might be differently abled, there's other ways that they can get at the information. Disadvantages, it's not necessarily suitable for all forms of content. It can be overly prescriptive form of instruction. So it's not like you need to record a screencast for absolutely everything. If you want to develop a very professional looking screencast, it can take a bit of time and effort. But that said, most people, very much students included, don't expect bells and whistles, all singing, all dancing. Screencasts generally, just a fairly informal screencast will be enough to uh, to support the transfer of learning. It requires a bit of commitment on behalf of the students and also on yourself as well, I guess, just to record it. And finally, technical difficulties in recording and exporting can be present, but those are very few and far between. So, look, just to give you a very simple example of how screencasts could be used for teaching and learning, resource development involves software demonstration. So, like I mentioned, if you're trying to teach someone how to do something in Word or Excel or any piece of software, rather than trying to put together text and images and send that on to someone, something which you can do is you can very simply boot up ScreenPal and very quickly record a demonstration of the software that you're using. So essentially, I'll show you in a second actually. Click here, move this here, put this here, so on and so forth. Recorded presentation. So if you can imagine, much like the presentation we're giving you today, everyone is looking at a slide deck. Everyone is hearing Sarah and Marion and myself talk. So a ScreenPal is a really useful way of just replicating that. You pull up your PowerPoint, you begin recording, you talk over your slides, and that's essentially the next best thing to a live slide deck presentation. Simulations, so using particular software to kind of represent simulations. If you want to, you can use it to try and represent or demonstrate field work. And it's very useful for recapping and reinforcing. So producing screencasts for all of those purposes is quite effective. Very quick example, I was trying to help a student recently or a staff member rather, in how showing them how to do something in Canvas rather than sending them text and images. I was able to produce a screencast showing them the process from start to finish. So the entire thing really does let you show the student or whoever you're developing the screencast for all the steps involved very clearly and very effectively. Another use of screencasting is for feedback and assessment. So rather than, again, trying to use text and images to communicate to students, you could record a screencast of yourself. So you can pull up the student's work so it's on your screen. You can begin recording, and you can basically, if you can imagine, record yourself talking over the student's work while you're looking at it, while you're highlighting or pointing at particular sections, so on and so forth. Another means of feedback is to essentially do the same thing, but for peer feedback, where a student records screencasts of themselves providing feedback on other students' submission, which is useful for encouraging elements like critical assessment. Another use of it might be for assessment. So essentially, students would record a screencast themselves, showing software or systems or projects that they're in the process of developing, or much like the narrated lecture, students could pull up a PowerPoint, could record themselves essentially presenting using that PowerPoint and speaking over it. So again, almost the next best thing to students doing a live presentation in class. Like Sarah and Marion mentioned, rather than kind of trying to cram everything into this one short presentation, what we've done is we've put together a module where there is details on Vevox and H5P and ScreenPal within the module itself. So we'll provide details on how to enroll in this, but essentially within this module, then we have lots of additional information and resources relating to Vevox, relating to H5P, and relating to ScreenPal, and as well as guidelines about how to actually use or perform particular activities within all these different software that we talked about here today. What you can do as well is we've also provided links to the help centers. So if you're having difficulties with any of them, what you can do is you can actually just access the help support kind of sections for all of these as well. So we're hoping that's a fairly comprehensive way without keeping everyone in Zoom for 2 hours. Um, by accessing this, you can get at all of the relevant information required to use these tools in more depth. And I see Sarah has very kindly put a link into the chat. But basically, you can enroll on the module through this link for a system called Catalog. And once you've enrolled on it, what it will do is once you've finished enrolling, what that will do is basically the next time you log into Canvas, you will have access to this showcase module. So that's about it. Hopefully that was of use. Holger has a good question. Do students have free access to ScreenPal? So yeah, I should mention just with ScreenPal, Holger, the way it works is that MTU, as in the Department of Tel, has a number of professional licenses for ScreenPal, which staff can avail of. But there is a free version of ScreenPal which students can get at. So essentially, if they just go to screenpal.com, then students can basically get at the free recorder version that's there. And there are also, if they want to, there are also discounts available if you're with an education institution. But yeah, some of the limitations of the free version, 15-minute recording limit, so on and so forth. But yeah, staff can access the professional version. We have guidelines on how to get at that within the module. Okay. If there aren't any other questions, then we will essentially, um, yeah, draw the session to a close. So just to say thanks very much, everyone, for coming to the session today. And we'll be sending out a follow-up email to everybody who registered for this session with a copy of the recording, some details, and also crucially a link to so that people can enroll on the module. Um, other than that, unless Sarah or Marion have anything to add, I think all that's left to say is thanks very much, everyone,
Thanks
for your
very
time
much,
and
everyone.
attention.
Thanks,
Take care.
And
everyone.
yeah,
Take
Have
care.
a great day.
wishing you all the best of the rest of the semester. So thanks a lot.